Hello, good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss the chapter 14 and 15 of Aristotle's Poetics, in which we will discuss about the character and its essentials. Let us go with the chapter 14. Dear friends, in chapter 10 and 11, Aristotle has distinguished three parts of the plot. He has mentioned three parts of the plot, that is, peripety, anagonosis, and suffering. The two parts, that is, peripety and anagonosis, have already been discussed in the previous video. Now, here in this chapter, we will discuss or we will try to get the meaning of sufferings. That is, I will try to explain the meaning of suffering. That is the third part or a third part of the plot. Suffering, according to Aristotle, is a kind of disaster or misfortune which is peculiarly suited to produce the proper pleasure of tragedy. So, Aristotle mentions that the misfortune or the disaster, so the depiction of the disaster and misfortune is the proper pleasure of tragedy. It should be there because it is that which release the emotions like pity and fear that he also discussed in the previous chapters. According to Aristotle, sufferings or actions, they are derived from the interrelation of two major factors. So these disasters or the third part of the plot is the result of the interrelation of two major factors. That is, it comes from the two factors how the sufferings can be created. Number one, the tragic deed, that is a part of plot. So the tragic deed, if there is in any plot, that will also create suffering, or that is the emotions of pity and fear. And a lack of knowledge, that is at least in some degree a part of character. So these are the two major factors which, according to Aristotle, sufferings are derived from them. So a lack of knowledge, which is the part of character, that is, the character does not know about that thing and that thing reveals, comes out, that also becomes the region of the suffering of the character or the hero, and that also arouses the emotions, pity and fear. Lack of knowledge, in words of Aristotle or in language of Aristotle, it is called hamartia. Hamartia. And knowledge is anagonesis. So here we have two words, two technical words used by Aristotle. Number one, hamartia, that is the lack of knowledge, and second one, knowledge, is anagonesis. Now what happens in the tragedy or in the plot? The disaster which arouses the emotion of pity and fear, that comes or that often comes out, that often results from hamartia, that is from the lack of knowledge. And this can be also prevented if anagonesis, that is the knowledge, comes in time. So if the discovery of the facts come in time, then it can be prevented. So the word hamartia is here very important so far this chapter is concerned. So we should remember the word hamartia as well as the word anagonesis, that is the knowledge of something that is the discovery of something, and hamartia, that is the lack of the knowledge. Now come with chapter 15, and this chapter discusses about character and its essentials. So here Aristotle mentions about the character and its essentials in detail. Let's go with that. He has listed four essentials of successful characterization. There are the four features, four important things which are necessary for successful characterization done by the tragedy or the dramatist. Number one, the characters must be good. So, according to Aristotle, a character is good. He must be good. And he is good if his words and actions reveal that his purpose is good. So, through the actions and the words which are used by the character in the plot or in the tragedy, they tell us that they reveal us that the purpose is good. It means the character is good. So, if the purpose is good, it means the character is good. Now, in ancient Greece, what happened? The women were considered as inferior beings and slaves as worthless. So the women were considered inferior beings. But here Aristotle says no. When in a tragedy, even women and slaves must be shown to have some good in them. So, though they were considered inferior, though they might have the the wrongs with them, they might have the errors with them, but even then, such people also must have some goodness in them, and that should be shown by the dramatist. So it depends on the dramatist. It is the duty of the dramatist to select such things in the character, and the character should be presented in such a way. He says, Aristotle says, entirely wicked characters, even when assigned minor roles, are unfit for tragedy. So, completely wicked characters, they are not fit for any tragedy. Just as a successful, here he gives the example of a painter that makes his portrait more beautiful than the original. We know it very well. And still he retains the likeness to the original. So definitely a painter makes his portrait beautiful than the original. But even then he retains the originality, likeness to the originality of the painting or the portrait. In the same way, the poet must represent his characters better, but more dignified, better and more dignified, but must still preserve the likeness to the original. They should be shown better, more dignified, but they should retain the originality. So they should connect themselves to the original. They should not look artificial. Number two, that about characterization, Aristotle says that is, the characters must be appropriate. They must be true to type or status. He gives another example of a woman, that a woman must be shown as womanly and not manly. So, characters should be true to type or status. So, if a woman is there, if a woman character is there, it should have the womanness. It should have the feature of the woman. It should not act like a man. In the same way, a slave must be given a character which should appropriate to his status. That is, he should act like a slave. He should connect himself to the action of the slave. So, manliness would not be appropriate in woman. So, a woman who works like man will never be fit for any plot and tragedy. That is, she should have the dignity and nobility in her of womanliness, not of manliness. So, if the characters are taken from some non myth or story, say that is the story of the king Oedipus, like they must be true to the tradition, that is, to the original. They should connect themselves with the original. They should act like the original. Though they will be better, they will be more good, they will be more dignified. Even then, they should look to the original. They should have the likeness to the original. They must behave like a king Oedipus is traditionally supposed to have behaved. Okay. The third thing, essential things that Aristotle here mentions for characterization is that the character must be true to life. So, any character who is presented, who acts in drama or in the play, in the tragedy, he must be true to life. That is, he must have the virtues and weaknesses, joys and sorrows, loves and hatred of average humanity, of average human being. He also must have the merits, demerits, weakness, errors, happiness, sadness, love, etc. All these things like the other human beings have. Because such likeness is essential. And for that we can feel pity. If only one who is like ourselves and only his misfortunes can make us fear of ourselves. So, if the character will look like ourselves, only then we will feel the sympathy, pity, and fear. Because we will think that as if we are in his or her place. So, we will fear. Then, the fourth essential part or the feature that Aristotle discusses about the characterization is that the character must be consistent. That is, he must be true to his own nature and their action must be in character. If a character who is shown as rash, impulsive person, then he should act rashly, impulsively throughout. So, if the dramatist has to represent an inconsistent person, then he must be consistently inconsistent. So, if the dramatist presents the character who is inconsistent, that is, whose behavior, whose actions are not proper or are worse, then he must act continuously that kind of the things. That is, he must be true to his own nature. So, if there is a character whose nature is bad, who is a man of hatredness, then it should be hatredness in all her actions, in all his actions throughout the play. If the character is kind, loving person, then he should be truthful to his this nature throughout the play. This is what Aristotle here wants to say. Then Aristotle emphasizes that the action of character must be necessary and probable outcome of its nature. So the character must show his nature. He must act like his nature. If his nature is of hatredness, then he must act that. If he is a murderer, then he should commit murders. If he is benevolent or humble, kind, then he should show that. As you have the example in Macbeth, you have read in your previous classes, King Duncan. You see, you see how Shakespeare has depicted this character throughout the play. King Duncan is a man of benevolent kindness, humbleness. In every action and in every words, there the humbleness shows, the humbleness flows in his nature, in his actions. And that is the reason that we feel sympathy for King Duncan when he is murdered. Because we think that he is true to his nature. Because we think that he is like one of us, although it is more dignified, more better. But we feel that it is very much close to us. So, if the misfortunes takes place upon him, if the and that is because of the hamartia, if the disaster falls upon him and he is being murdered, he is murdered, so what happens with us? We begin to weep. We begin to feel sorry for him. So this is what I think Aristotle here wants to convey. He should act as we may logically uh, expect a man of his nature to act under the given circumstances. So, that is, the character must be consistent to his nature. He should act like his nature. Here again, Aristotle says, just as the incident must be logically connected. Incidents, as we have already discussed about the incidents, that they must be logical with each other. So also the various actions of the character must be necessary, they should be there, but they should be connected logically. They should probable consequence of his character and the situation in which he is placed. So in this way, in this chapter, Aristotle has discussed about the characterization, and in the last he says that they must be logically interlinked with earlier actions and must not contradict the impression produced earlier. So what type of their nature, their action we have seen in the earlier scenes and acts or the part of the play, the same type of action, same type of impression should be maintained, should be consistent throughout the play. This is what I think Aristotle here wants to say. So, thank you very much, dear students. This is what for today that I have spoken to you. I hope you will enjoy, you will understand about these two chapters. In our next video, we will meet with another new chapters from Poetics, having an analysis and a good discussion with you. So, again, thank you very much. See you.